hearing from students at UMass Amherst who are among more than 100 protesters arrested at that pro-Palestinian encampment from earlier this week. Welcome, everyone, to Western Mass News at 5. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Abby Carnevale. Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lokri joins us live from campus. And Reagan, the students you spoke with are calling for Chancellor Reyes to step down.
Yeah, that's right, Abby and Chris. I spoke with Arnesh, who was one of the students arrested Tuesday, and he says Chancellor Javier Reyes should step down after the level of what he calls repression. The new chancellor put students and protesters and people on campus through just 2 weeks after his inauguration ceremony. This comes after the UMass Student Government Association passed a vote of no confidence in the chancellor following the arrest of more than 100 pro-Palestinian protesters at Tuesday's unauthorized encampment. Writing a statement that reads, in part, quote, Chancellor...
He's very unpopular on campus. People don't want him here. People know that he...
Arnesh, as well as his fellow protesters, are demanding the university divest from military groups with ties to both the school and the Israel-Hamas war after the administration and a group of protesters failed to reach a resolution on Tuesday. State and local police were called to dismantle the unauthorized encampment. Arnesh tells me, although he feels Reyes stepping down would be the best decision for the university, at the end of the day, they are more concerned with the university meeting their demands. Meanwhile, UMass President Marty Meehan released a statement that reads, in part, on behalf of the University of Massachusetts, I want to express my full support for Chancellor Javier Reyes in his leadership of UMass Amherst. From the moment he stepped foot on the Amherst campus, he has proven to be a dedicated and thoughtful chancellor who is deeply committed to our students and their education, well-being, and safety. Now, coming up at 6, we hear more about what Arnesh experienced, as well as another student on campus. Reporting live in Amherst, Reagan Lokri for Western Mass News.